Go hide outside.
Okay, don't be late, don't be late.
We have 2 minutes, I can smell it.
Outside.
Okay, don't be late, don't be late.
We have 2 minutes, I can smell it. Yeah.
So, is there kind of? Yeah, that's why I said it's not. Even though I'm not in the city of Bayville. Yeah. I'm not. No, that's why I said it's not. What's that? Live in the city of
What a minute.
For the water and throughout the entire city there.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the North Pole City Council. Today is February 3rd, 2025. Thank you for all being here. It's wonderful to see you all in our chambers. I'm super excited about it. Now you have room to move. Now that we removed the box from the room, thank you for joining us this evening. Very much appreciate it. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Claus,
Here.
Miss Clack,
Here.
Miss Glab, Mr. Williams, Mr. Jacobson,
Here.
Mr. Keller,
Here.
Mayor Church.
Present.
We are at full council.
Thank you for that. If you please stand, Jeff will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Benny will lead us in the invocation. If you're wearing a hat, please remove that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, we worship you because you are our God forever. We bless your name. We bless your children as we gather to praise you. We reject evil and to do right by your name. We pray for your grace so that we may do good work in your name. Fill us with your power and glory. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman Jacobson. Councilman Williams, that was wonderful.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Move to amend the agenda.
State your amendment.
Would like to move item 12C, request the council purchase city vehicle to consent agenda.
Second that.
Second.
Okay, any other changes, amendments?
On the agenda as amended, Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Miss Clack,
Yes.
Miss Glab,
Yes.
and Mayor Church.
Yes.
On the agenda for this evening, Miss Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Miss Glab,
Yes.
Mr. Claus, Mr. Keller, Mr. Jacobson, Mayor Church.
Yes. Would
Uh,
anyone like to change their vote? Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I get a motion, please, for the approval of the minutes from January 21st, 2025?
Move to approve the minutes from January 21st, 2025.
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion, changes, or amendments?
I do have one here real quick.
Go ahead, Mr. Keller.
Yes, within the council member questions of the mayor, we have the third line here, Mayor Church stated Safeway, Santa Claus, and Three Bears. If we could include the Santa Claus house formally in there, and then Three Bears of Alaska, just so we can have those on record properly.
You can make those changes as
Clerical.
housekeeping. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I will make those two changes. Was there anybody else that had? I have Claus first, Clack second. Mayor, would you like me to call the roll?
Please do.
Miss Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Miss Glab,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Keller, Mr. Williams, and Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote? Seeing none. Thank you. That takes us to communications of the mayor. I received a letter January 15th, or was mailed out January 15th, from the state of Alaska stating that the population of the city of North Pole has been determined at 2,404 people. We do have the option to disagree with that determination. I don't see any reason why we would, but we certainly have that option. Other things I wanted to talk about, PetroStar and their tank farm. We're in the smack dab middle of public comment. They have a 30-day public commenting period through the state of Alaska DEC that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention here. It is inside the city, so if you wanted to comment or talk about that, you certainly could. that packet went out with our packet for you to look through and check out. But we're in the middle of comment period if that was something you wanted to talk about. With that,
Mayor?
yes,
Do you plan to give a formal response to this public notice on behalf of the city?
I wasn't planning on it. Is there a reason that I should based on what you have seen?
Other than the fact that it is within our city and we shouldn't probably be silent one way or the other. I know it's hundreds of pages of stuff to read, but I would think that a response on the record would be appropriate, whether we're supportive of it or have any concerns. Not that I can see at this time that I have any concerns, but I don't think we should be silent.
Okay, so noted. I guess that takes us right on to questions of the mayor.
Sorry.
It's okay. You're jumping right down the agenda faster than I can make through here. I was going to read my proclamation for Groundhog's Day, but I suppose I will just present that. Groundhog's Day was yesterday. Not like a groundhog really matters here in our town because we indefinitely will have 6 more weeks of winter. But I wanted to just say that it's great for all of us to get together, and I know we have a lot of business to get to tonight, but I think it's important that we enjoy our job as council people, for our city, for our council members, for our staff, that we all get along and we just have a good time. For the 5 hours a month that we're here enjoying each other's company, I would love us to have just a little bit of fun while we handle the city's business.
May I ask a question?
Certainly you may. Jeff moved us right down to that. So yes, please.
Which groundhog did you use for your proclamation?
I only used Phil. Phil is the only groundhog that I know of, unless you go way back to 1887 and the original groundhog who didn't actually have a name.
There was a second one this year.
I wasn't aware of that, but I will do some research on my lunch tomorrow.
They had opposite opinions of what was going to happen.
Well, for us, it's all the same.
Very true.
Okay, any other questions of the mayor before we move on to citizens' comments?
I do, this population determination that came from the state, how is it different from what we currently have on record? Did we go up? Did we go down?
That's a great question, and I don't have the previous record that we received 2 years ago. So I don't have any idea. I didn't look into it. I certainly can look into that and get back to you, the entire council, tomorrow and let you know.
And I agree with you. To protest this means that we basically have to go door to door and do a census head count, which is very time consuming and costly to do. We looked at it several times in the past. The requirements to challenge this are pretty steep.
And I'm not aware, and maybe you will be, Councilman Jacobson, about the determination. I know there's a 2,500 person split somehow where that seems to make a difference one way or the other. But I couldn't find anything online or any of my resources that would tell me the benefits one way or the other. I just take the numbers for what they are and march forward, knowing that we are a town of many.
Well, in the past, to answer your question, revenue sharing was determined by our population count. Since we really don't have very much revenue sharing coming from the state anymore, or allocations like that, it's not as a serious of an issue as it was in the past.
I believe revenue sharing is working backwards now, where we're sharing with the state to handle our money. Yeah. Any other questions? Madam Clerk, please move us to citizens' comments.
Okay, I don't have anybody that signed up online. There may be people here in the council chambers. Any person wishing to speak needs to sign up on the list located on the public testimony table. Respectful standards of decorum and courtesy should be observed by all speakers. Remarks should be directed to the council as a body rather than any one member of the council or staff. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. And I do have some people signed up, and you're welcome to step right up.
Greetings. My name is Barbara Haney. I am on assembly, but I'm not here in that capacity. I'm here in my capacity as a private person. And for what it's worth, the population of the city of North Pole last year. My time is ticking down. 2,248. So I don't know if that matters or not.
Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. That's
And that
perfect.
number, that number was like, what? Sorry,
2024. 2024.
2024?
That's
So we've
according
gone up?
to Google, which is we were 2,486. Okay. So, and if I can make a secondary note, which is not why I'm here, but Christy Terry is who I would request for a presentation on this matter. She's currently, I think, vice president. She could probably do it on Zoom in a staff report at a future meeting. It would be very interesting. She's a very good speaker, and I've worked with her a lot in the past. I would also probably recommend hearing from Bonnie Wolstad, who is over at Hector's Welding, and she has a lot of experience with railroad right-of-ways and is very active in that area on, especially when it comes to easements and deed issues. The reason why I came here, though, tonight, in my capacity as an economist, is I am gravely concerned about an EPA decision that I think will have some very grave impacts for the real estate market in the city of North Pole, as well as for myself. I do not live in the attainment area. As a matter, it's an FYI. I live outside the attainment area. I don't live in the city of North Pole, obviously because the whole city of North Pole is in the attainment area. However, under the new proposed regulations on the Air Quality Standard Implementation Plan, there's a regulation proposed 18 AAC 50.081, real estate transactions, weatherization, energy efficiency. And this is for any house that is sold in the non-attainment area will have to have a weatherization inspection and rating. And there are only 2 in the borough, and I'm not even sure that one is currently in the borough. They have to be have the qualifications with ADA, or the Alaska Housing Authority. So, I mean, we used to have quite a few of them back in the day, as you know, when we had different standards. This energy rating is what is going to be required, has to be disclosed. There's some other conditions on wood stoves. I don't burn wood, okay? I don't burn wood. I use electric. I don't live in the attainment area. I live outside it. I may have to get one of these energy ratings, though. I don't know. But I can tell you that you will have to have one in the city of North Pole. And in my view, what this is going to do is it's going to depress the market here greatly. And it's going to be a very big obstacle for growth in this area. And in my view, what will happen is a lot of people will just simply, if they won't have the money to pony up to get one of these energy ratings, and they'll just leave and maybe rent out their house, maybe just board it up. I know we've got some properties out in the unorganized, in the borough, outside of the city limits, but both city limits, where people have transferred out and they couldn't sell their property, and so they just boarded it up, and they've become kind of problem properties. I'm not going to lie. Some of our biggest code enforcement challenges have been with some of these properties, and I would hate to see that start happening in the city of North Pole. And over the long run, that could be what well happens. Now, if we had several of these rating officers and it was a fairly cheap, simple thing to do, cool beans. with only two. And I don't see a huge influx of energy raters moving in. Right now, it's like $950, I think, to get this done. If you get on the schedule, and you might get it done in 6 months. If this goes into regulation, it's going to go way higher in price, and it's going to be take a really long time. So if the military transfers you out, you got to go now, right? You can't wait around for some weatherization thing going on. That means people either board up their houses or they'll rent them out. You start getting a lot of apps. As long as you have owner occupied housing, you have pretty stable neighborhoods. But when you start getting neighborhoods with a lot of absentee landlords, you start having a lot of other costs associated with that. Now, you may wonder why I should come to you. Well, first, I'm on the assembly, so I'm always looking out for the cities, I guess. But even though I'm not here in that capacity, I'm here as an economist. But I live in the non-attainment area. So here's what's going to happen to me. I may not have to comply with these regulations. I don't burn wood, so I'm probably not going to have anything to register, okay? But what's going to happen is everybody's going to try to move in the non-attainment area now, all right? And so what's going to happen to my land values? They're going to rise. Well, I'm in a fixed income. A rise in my land values is going to mean I'm going to have to pay a higher assessed value. Because even though I'm 65, any value over a certain amount, guess what? I've got to fork that out. So that's going to raise my property taxes.
I think you've got it reversed. We're in the non-attainment area
Well,
and
okay,
you live
the point-
outside of
I'm
that.
outside
so
of it.
You're in the attainment area.
I'm in the unregulated zone. I'm in
Yeah.
the free zone, and you guys are in the regulated zone. How's that? Let's think of it that way. The point is, people will be building out there, and in fact, I'm already seeing a lot of building. I've seen just in my little neighborhood off North Freeman Road. When I first moved out there, it was me and a a guy over at Trapper's Cabin and Tom and Nancy Duets. That was about it. And it has really built up since that time. And I sometimes I look around and go, man, I got to move downriver more. But in all due seriousness, I've looked at the building plans over in Derringer and on the other side of the river, both sides. There's a lot of building going on out there. And if you have a very big shift in construction out there, that's not going to help the city of North Pole at all. It's not going to help the city of Fairbanks either, by the way.
Does any of the council have questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go over. The point is, I've got a second page of the regulations so you could see them. My ask, if I can give you my ask, we have until February 7th to make comments. I am asking that you contact the CODEL, the congressional delegation, and request that they extend that comment period time. I can't believe we've only been known about this for a week. This is crazy. So thank you very much, and I'll stay.
Go on. Yeah, please. Mr.
Barbara, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I suspect that this regulation is a result of EPA determining that the borough non-attainment area failed to meet the air quality standards by the deadlines that shifted along the lines. And so they're flexing their muscle and saying, all right, state, you have to start doing things to improve air quality. I think this is a horrible way of going about it. Very expensive for all the transactions that happen in real estate in our community. And it's going to catch people blindly when this goes into effect January 1, 2026, that they have to have all of these new requirements in order to sell their home.
Well, and just finding people who can do the inspections.
Right.
Let's say the state goes, oh, we'll pay for it. They won't.
Even
But,
getting,
let's
even getting
assume-
your house assessed value, sometimes it's months waiting to get an assessor.
There's
Do
two
you kn-
appraisers. That's it. I mean, this is crazy business.
Do you know of any other regulations that are sneaking up on us as a result
There
of
are,
that?
and I think Miss Wilson and Miss Shoup will probably follow up with some other things that are in there. I have the whole document. For me, it's that sales piece. There's also some things on registering your stove. I didn't get to the second page.
I'll look that up.
And I'm sure Miss Wilson probably want the second page up when she's speaking. So, but there's 8 pages of regulations here. And to me, that one that I had up on the screen is the most egregious.
Yeah.
And so
February 7th,
the
that doesn't,
initial strategy is to extend the comment period.
yeah.
Because I can't even do anything at the borough assembly at this point or anything else by Friday. You have to have, you have to follow Open Meetings Act rules, which on notice and stuff like that. So the first thing I think is to contact the Cordell and ask them for, to move that deadline
extension.
from, an extension, February 7th to wherever, at least March
A
1.
month from now. Yep.
Thank you for coming today and
Appreciate it.
speaking to this very much. And I think that it will affect you if you ever do decide to sell. I know that because of where you're at, you won't be required to, but the purchaser of your house may be required to, because the banks will know about this legislation that's passed and they will make it an area-wide thing, not necessarily just an attainment or non-attainment area. They will make it an entire FNSB borough-wide problem and a statewide problem, so that across the entire state, I'm less worried about it here in our interior, although it does concern me. I think about the villages outside of Alaska where they don't have any energy ratings, and it doesn't also state anything about private party sales. They're just as required to do that as you would be if you were using professionals in the exchange. So thank you for your fight on this, and thank you for being able to come here tonight and speak to it.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Tammy Wilson, 571 Canoro. I am the second part of this presentation. So I'm just going to run you just through the process as we understand it. We just learned about it Thursday or Friday of last week, even though open comment was all month of January. I know you were all finishing celebrating and might not have looked at this. So the draft actually got passed May 10th, 2024. Last year for the state. That's why this is the federal portion of it for the EPA. But the way we understand it, and this comes from most of the realtors, is before you even put your house up for sale, you have to have this. It's called all residential buildings must have an energy rating completed and turn it into the state DEC and the prospective buyers. So not just necessarily the person that you're selling it to. It goes with the disclosures just like you do right now within it. My issue with it is that, I have a 50-year-old home. I do burn wood, very proud of it, because it keeps me warm, because otherwise my furnace doesn't do such a good job, and it's even brand new. But I would have to have this done with my house, so when I put my house up for sale, I would already know it's 50 years old, and I would make those measurements. But now what happens if that person comes in and says, I want you to do all these things first, because it's put there? It's not just that. I now have to register my wood stove with DEC. And the way I understand it is that if it's not 2 grams, which it is, or less, I would have to change it out or make it inoperable to keep it in my home. It could even be worse than that, because the part I can't understand yet because I haven't had time to dive that far into it. It may actually be those that are on the DEC list, which is about this big. It only has a few stoves on it that can be done that direction. And believe it or not, but we have people who buy these stoves, even pellet stoves from Canada, from the lower 48, that are actually better than the ones that have been tested by the DEC. So, Mayor, you had a good point that goes to the whole borough, but even right now, there are literally 2 people in the borough that has this, because you have to be the energy rater means a person authorized to perform energy ratings by the Alaska Housing Finance Corporation under 15 AAC 155.530. So they run about $1,000. About 10 years ago, when we had the big rebate program, the state paid $500 because that's how much they were supposed to charge. Even then, they charged over the $500. So this is going to be, we're trapped, right? What are we going to do? You want to sell your house? And this is for any residence, condos, they're all sold. I believe there's a developer here that has brand new housing. They would all have to have it. There's no distinction whatsoever, except that it has to be residential building. That's the only determination in it. It could be a dry cabin. You know, it could be anything. It'd be a 5-star rated home that just got built, and it may not have had this done, right? Because that's based on the kind of wood and insulation, you know, from within it. And so at this point, you know, we're all going to write, not just the EPA administrator, but also, you know, our representative and senator. And I did talk to Senator Sullivan's office, and that's where we came up with, we just need an extension because we want to be able to tell them exactly what it will do to our community. And just think about it. Right now, if you did the wood stove change-out program, do you know you have to sign a deed saying you'll never have wood in your home again? Anybody read GVA's little thing about that randomly an hour here and an hour there, you may not have electricity? I'll be warm. Kid across the street won't be so warm because he doesn't have a wood stove. So although I agree that we should be doing, and we have done an excellent job of doing change outs, and our quality air has just gotten a lot better. But honestly, to be able to meet it, we have to have less people that live here or somehow make the inversion not happen. Well, I don't want less people living here. And I don't want it takes for inversion, that's called wind. And at -40, I don't want wind either. So, you know, we have a new administrator. We even have a new Region 10 administrator. The sad thing is she happens to be the DEC commissioner who was part of writing this plan. But I just want to let you know, the way the plan worked was DEC said, this is what we want to do. And the EPA said, sorry, not good enough. DEC would put a few more things in here, and the EPA still not good enough. So what I'm going to assume is this whole thing, you know, got put in because some other state, sadly enough, was most likely required to do this. Because I think they just had a list. So I do believe the state fought the best that they could. And you might have heard that the transportation funding is no longer frozen. Well, we're going to be freezing because the trade-off was this going into the plan for us to get our transportation funding, although we already know that cars and its emission is not the biggest factor for our air quality. So one thing, if you ask for an extension, I just, you know, want you to put in there that I do think it would be great if you could actually be able to do this project and be able to do as a council, and having the deadline on Friday does not give you that an opportunity, you know, and your entire area, just like Fairbanks, will also be affected. So sorry we didn't bring it to you sooner, but at least hopefully we still have time for you to be able to weigh in.
Thank you for being here this evening. Anybody have questions for Ms. Wilson?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Shelley Shoup. I live in Moose Creek. And to be honest with you, I have no idea if I'm in the attainment area, unattainment area. I was on a well, now I'm on North Pole water. Moose Creek is ebbing and flowing constantly. We never know what's going to happen. And we have a tank farm right in my backyard. I don't think you want it. Anyway, I don't have any more details to provide on this new proposed EPA, DEC energy rating proposal. But with all of the unknowns where I do live, my husband and I, we want to put a wood stove in this summer with the rolling brownouts and blackouts. And we've had our power out for 3 and 4 days at a time and running an indoor kerosene heater. And we just want to put a wood stove in for that self-sustainability. So I'm here to just reinforce their details and ask you to please call and ask for more time. I would like to research and read this whole thing, but I didn't even see it until last Friday. And I need to read it and understand it before I can even comment on it. And I am involved in my local politics. I do care about my community. And so what we're asking this body is if you can get us more time to research and comment so that we can all understand what they're doing and maybe even stop it. Stopping it would be best in my opinion. But yeah, anything you can do to help us get more time on this would be so appreciated.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Anybody have any questions for her? It's fine. Thank you very much. Thank you for your comment. Anyone else signed up for public comment this evening?
Or would anybody else like to sign up?
Good evening, and thank you for being here. If you wouldn't mind putting your name and information there on that sheet.
I apologize if this is not the appropriate time. I literally just came in on the plane. So I wanted to comment on this resolution 2504 regarding the railroad. I think it's really a good start. Right now, the railroad bisects the town, and this is a project that has been studied multiple times. It's close, if it's not shovel ready, it's close to being shovel ready, something that should be able to get dusted off. And I would definitely encourage you to approach the governor, legislature, and the railroad to see about getting some funding. It's very possible with this administration, this is something that may be able to move forward. The other thing also is Tammy Wilson and I were the ones that worked on the reversionary clause legislation. So if and when the railroad is to move, the people along the Eielson Spur will be able to get their property back. So that's something. In the meantime, the city needs to do a study. And when I say a study, very simple, have your county clerk call the other municipalities. And what you're looking for is equity, parity. Call and find out what the other entities are paying for crossings and for utilities. Make sure that you are paying something on par. I honestly do not know what all the individual municipalities, you've got Anchorage, Palmer, Wasilla, everything up and down the rail belt. You need to be calling them and finding out. It'd probably take you a 3-day project, and definitely check to see and make sure that you are paying the same that others. The railroad has decreased their fees from where they used to be, and so you want to make sure that you are getting those also. The other thing is the Flying Crown lawsuit that went to the Ninth Circuit just 2 years ago. They came back and determined that the railroad does indeed have an exclusive use easement, not a right-of-way, easement. So that may be helpful. And we are still working on some legislation in the legislature.
Thank you for being able to come here tonight and speak to this. Is there any questions?
No, just I wanted to thank Bonnie and her family for working on this festering problem with the railroad basically seizing private property in the past and not compensating owners for it.
Yeah, they have now received a patent on property that had already been patented. So we're working on that issue now.
Thank you for your dedication to that and always being here for North Pole.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay. Thank you, citizens, for coming. If you would like to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome to, but don't feel obligated. If you would like to get out of here and get on with your night, feel free. But thank you for coming and speaking your mind, and we do appreciate that, and you are being heard. So, thank you. That moves us on to communications from department heads. Madam Clerk, would you like to kick it off?
Sure, absolutely. It's wonderful to see citizens in the council chambers and a space for everybody to spread out. We have been busy at City Hall. We're working on the remodel and restructuring. We're making it all work. So I didn't do a very formal report. We did get 100% compliance in the month of January for AML-JIA. Everybody got their training done, and we didn't have to pull too many teeth. So I can't think of anything else to report this evening. It's just we're keeping busy around here, and I think it's starting to show.
That's big news with 100%.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Glad to be back with you tonight. So yeah, last week I was in Juneau for the Alaska Fire Chiefs Leadership Summit. It's an annual event that the Alaska Fire Chiefs Association puts on. I think it's the 4th or 5th time I've been down to it. A great event, getting away and sitting in leadership classes and rubbing elbows with other people from around the state is kind of a revitalizing time. You bounce ideas off each other. You are able to talk about issues with our community's fire service and other communities and see the differences and the similarities. So a really good time while we were down there to be able to sit and do that. And then, of course, while we're down there, we with the legislative session going, we were able to get up onto the Hill, meet with our appropriate representatives and senators. So I absolutely enjoyed my time down there, and glad to be back though. That wet snow I don't enjoy. So this dry stuff's much better. So the first of the year started off busy for the fire department. I looked at numbers this morning and I knew we were running a lot in January, but I didn't realize how much. So in January, we had 141 emergency calls, which is compared to last January, we had 109 emergency calls. It was a busy month. I'm hoping that doesn't set the trend for the rest of the year. I hope that was maybe the busy month. But traditionally, January is not one of our busiest months. So, yeah, I just want the community to be safe. And if you need us, call, but try to be safe, be fire-wise, make sure your home's safe and keep your health and try not to use this. I don't want to see that trend continue. One of those calls that we responded to, what you've all seen or heard about it, was the aircraft accident out at Eielson. We did have staff that responded out to mutual aid. We had an engine and an ambulance. An engine and a battalion originally respond. The engine actually was used out there. They used our resources. Our battalion chief was able to go out and tie in with their incident command system and coordinate with them appropriately. Ambulance service for Eielson Air Force Base was a question for several hours because of their staffing tied up. So we actually brought recalled personnel into the station during this time period. So we were never uncovered for our responsibilities, and we were able to station our second ambulance out at the gate itself. And it was kind of in a standby mode there to where it could respond either way. If they had another emergency on Eielson, whether it was a cardiac arrest or a trauma, they could have responded into Eielson. If we had more emergencies outside in our normal jurisdiction, they were available for that as well. So I'm really proud of my staff. That happened last week while I was out of town. Captain McGilvery was the acting fire chief. We were in phone contact throughout the entire thing. So I couldn't be happier with how smooth, the staff reacted and participated in something that was quite unusual. I mean, aircraft accidents are not something we normally have to respond on. So, and thank heavens that there was no fatalities or major injuries with that accident. Last thing I've got for you is we've received notice that we received a grant that we put in annually, the Volunteer Fire Capacity Grant we put in for each and every year. So this year, we've been awarded $9,967.39. I found out when I was in the conference last week that we were awarded that, and they literally said the check's in the mail. And then when I talked with Trish here, she says, yeah, we've actually got the check. So I will have that on the next council agenda because we'll have to put that in front of you for actual approval to accept the grant awards. But that money this year, it's a wildland preparedness grant every year. And this year we're putting that towards personal protective equipment. So the PPE that we use and wear to fight wildfire and structural fire is what we'll be using that for. So really happy that amount is crept up. The state has been pushing that. Just a few years back, it was only half that amount. So I think last year $7,500 was the cap, and then this year $10,000 was the cap. So really glad to receive that once again. So, and with that, I can answer any questions if you have any.
That's huge that you're knocking on that door. I think that's wonderful that you're getting right up there to the top, and I think it is. huge to say that it is because you and your team being exceptional and doing things that are sort of outside the box, like the apprenticeship program that is bringing recognition to North Pole Fire Department. So thank you for that. When it comes to the 141 calls for the month, do you feel like that is structure fires, emergencies, vehicles? Where's the uptick? Do we need to do more public service announcements for smoke detectors, driving wise? What do we need to address?
It was mostly ambulance provided calls. I didn't really see an uptick. I didn't scrutinize the numbers per, whether it's rescue calls, ambulance calls, or fire. But the trend seemed to be just more ambulance calls. So, and sometimes that's just unavoidable, health problems happen. But there are the slips, trips, and fall calls that we do go on where those are absolutely preventable, if people we did have quite the ice storm. Amazingly, to be honest, I don't think we had a big uptick in fall calls from that, but it's prone for those type of calls. Motor vehicle accidents, of course, was a slight increase because of that weather. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. Councilman Jacobson, go ahead, sir.
Yes, could you talk about the impacts that's going to happen to the interior Alaska regarding the Delta ambulance service going out of business?
The impacts to us in the interior, I don't know if we'll see a major impact other than possibly, I'm envisioning if they don't make a plan and they truly will lose 911 ambulance services on the 21st of this month. If that happens, we could see people driving towards the hospital and then Salter Fire and Rescue or North Pole, having to pick up these people en route to the hospital because if it's so emergent, if they were in labor or, cardiac arrest and, bystanders are in a car doing CPR. That's where I envision it could impact us is having to meet people on the roadway that are literally transitioning from Delta Junction in personally owned vehicles to get here. I've been lightly tracking the whole situation, and I know they were having a planning meeting sometime soon. It might have already happened, actually, to try to plan for how they are going to provide EMS past the 21st.
I thought they were doing really good. I mean, they got these new ambulances. We got one of them out of their queue for us. It just was a surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've worked hand in hand with Delta Medical Transport. It is a private company. It is not a government-run agency. It is a private company, and I don't know the full details of everything that happened that went down, but there was accusations made towards the company from what I believe. I'm not fully aware of the entire situation, but obviously it was to the point where that company felt that their best option was to back off, which it's horrible to hear that, to be honest, because I envision, like with North Pole Fire Department, if suddenly our ambulance service had to shut down and there was nobody else in the community that could pick that service up, because that's what Delta's in right now. There's no other ambulance in the community that can pick that up. There's, from what I understand, other private ambulance services have voiced that they would charge far more than what Delta Medical Transport ever did, so they couldn't afford to bring in these other private ambulances. Military base does have ambulances, but they can only work off of mutual aid contracts, from what I've been told. So they are in a bind. I pray that Delta community comes together, they attend these planning meetings and do the right thing for their community, because Delta Medical Transport was running a lot of calls. I mean, we see them regularly come through. You've probably all seen them. So those are individuals that are needing care. So my heart goes out to everybody in the community, and hopefully they do come up with a solution. So, but for effect on us, I think it'll be minimal. I think we will see maybe a few of those type of calls, but nothing so large that we can absorb it.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Smith, would you like to come up?
Just a few things for you folks. our new evidence custodian started on the 27th and has already proven herself to be a great asset because she came to us with a lot of very valuable previous experience. We'll do a full evidence audit and hand that off to her next week. We have to go through and literally touch every piece of evidence in the entire agency, and then it becomes her responsibility from that point forward. So we'll be working on that all this week. Our newest recruit, John Wright, graduated from the CTC Academy on the 30th, and he distinguished himself by earning the PT award. In the Academy instructor's words, he gave the instructor a run for his money. So he's hopefully staying as good a shape as he is leaving the Academy, and he starts work with Officer Corner on the 5th on field training. So coming up really soon. The PD remodel is now complete. I took my desk apart and moved it out, and they came in and did my floor. So that's done. You guys feel free to stop by and take a look if you haven't, but it is much nicer over there. We also did some new brochure holders, and I got some nice pictures for the lobby. So we're trying to bring that into the 21st century a bit. It looks a little better. The SHSP grant applications for 2025 have been submitted. The projects are, number one, a new generator to support the new wing. This is the one we have now currently. Well, it tends to flood the building once in a while, apparently, but also it's just not the right capacity for the building. So that is project one. Project two is a fire alarm system for the PD and City Hall. And project three are replacement laptops and docking stations for the police department, at least to get us some of them replaced. I was going to say that the new patrol cars are being worked on, but I did just get the invoice yesterday, so those apparently are done being outfitted, and we just need to set up shipping to get them to Anchorage and then drive them up here. So those should be here pretty soon. And that's about all I got for you folks. You got any questions?
Oh, thank you for all you do. Thank you for the report. Madam CFO. While we're in a break, Lieutenant Smith, I do think I would like to volunteer Mr. Benny Williams to be a driver. If you're looking for drivers who would like to roll those back from Anchorage, I think he would be interested in making that
Got a
happen.
vehicle coming from Anchorage?
See what I mean?
I'll go. I'll go.
Open that Pandora's box.
Do I get to turn on the light too?
Whoa. Mr. Williams,
Might have to have special.
calm yourself, sir.
You start.
I know, it's all my fault. Madam CFO, I was just buying you time and I started all this. I am so sorry.
I just know that normally we put the shipping on a credit card, and I was going to ask Lieutenant Smith to, maybe we could just pay the shipping company. So anyway, I did try to contact them and get a W-9, but I got nobody called me back. So I just have a couple things to report. One, that we did get a check for the sale of the city services vehicle. And we also sold some tires at the same time. So the vehicle, we were able to recover $7,314, and the tires about $78.
And that's after auction fees, correct?
That's after auction fees, yes.
Yeah.
And I just got back from a lovely vacation.
Pan as ever?
Huh?
Did you have fun?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Look very relaxed.
Yeah.
Well worth it.
Yeah. It was nice, except for I got home and it was raining, and then within the next week it was 40 below. So, I was hoping it would be 40 below. I was gone.
Any questions? All right,
Okay,
thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, I guess that takes us on to item number 10, which we don't have any ongoing projects. Is that correct?
Correct.
Other than City Hall, since PD is finally finished. We have 0 unfinished business, number 11, which takes us to new business, item 12. Would someone like to read that into the record, please?
Resolution 2025-03, a resolution of the North Pole City Council in support of the aging water infrastructure replacement.
Can I get a motion to bring that to the floor?
Move to introduce and adopt Resolution 2025-03, a resolution of the North Pole City Council in support of the aging water infrastructure replacement.
I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been first and seconded.
And is there any citizen that would like to speak to this item?
First did. Like that? And cup of coffee. Seeing no citizens, discussion. So I guess I'll take it away unless you wanted to roll with it.
Please.
The reason for this is I'm sure everybody has heard this before, but I'll go through it again. Our aging water infrastructure in the old downtown loop of North Pole that was put in the 70s and 80s. As water has been running through it, electrolysis has happened and repairs on that. Those lines have pretty much outlived themselves with the expansions to Moose Creek to deal with PFAS contamination, the expansion up Badger Road to deal with sulfolane contamination, and it has really put a strain on our older section of downtown water mains. The purpose of this resolution is to get that to the Interior Delegation, hoping that they can somehow find some funding to assist this project and help us get things off the ground. We do have plans. It is a shovel-ready project, so we will be out diligently looking for funds to make that happen for the city and to move that forward. And this resolution is just pretty much putting everybody on notice of what we're doing and what we're in need of. Any questions or comments? Please, Mr. Claus.
Well, where I live, which is close to the post office, we've had 2 water main breaks there. So I know it's a imminent problem.
Yes, and that water main that actually runs behind your building, I believe, has been repaired numerous times, like 6 different times in the last 5 years, with great water loss. It has been great for the dog park, that the grass is always green there, but it's unfortunate for citizens who are left without water, and our city employees who have to go out and dig that up, repair that, and pray to God that it continues to work. So desperate need of that. Mr. Jacobson?
Yes. Will you be able to champion this resolution to our North Pole representative and state senator in the legislature to perhaps get the different state agencies to provide the possibility of funding or grants or low-cost financing for this so that we could kind of actually get this project done?
Certainly will. I don't mind championing that at all. I've talked with Mr. Prax about that quite a few times. I have talked with Mr. Myers about that quite a few times. And this is just one more step to keep it in the back of their mind. I think that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, good, bad, or indifferent. I want to be the happy squeak, not the horrible squeak that you want to throw out the window and forget about for the rest of your life, but the one that actually makes a difference. And I think our community really does need it and deserve it for where we're at and what we're doing here. So thank you,
Mayor.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on Resolution 2025-03?
On Resolution 25-03, Ms. Clack,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Ms. Glab,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote?
That passed with 7 affirmatives.
Thank you. That takes us on to item B, Resolution 25-04, a resolution of the City of North Pole and the City Council in support of the Alaska Railroad's Phase 1 Railroad Crossing Project from 2012.
Move to introduce resolution and adopt resolution 2025-04, resolution of the City of North Pole Council in support of the Alaska Railroad Corporation's Phase 1 Rail Crossing Reduction Project.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion or any citizens that would like to comment to this item?
Madam Clerk, before we move forth, I just would like to bring to the table, on the agenda, it says 2025-04, but on the resolution, it's 2025-05.
It's 04. I messed up the agenda when I posted it. It is 04, Larry.
So the resolution on the agenda is 04, but the actual resolution in front of us is 05. So
I corrected it in handwriting, but then I didn't correct it on the agenda. So Miss Haney has the official 04, and I sent it home with her. But yes, it is actually Resolution 2025-04.
Okay, no, that's fine. We'll take it as 04. I just wanted to make sure that we're on the correct number. That does certainly make a difference when we go to vote on it. So, sorry, I was not up to speed on that. So the purpose of this project isn't to try and hold the railroad hand to make this put into place. We know that we're going to have to sit down and have discussions about this to be able to move it forward, but the railroad splits our town in half. It is a safety issue with the crossings, with our kids, with our property, with Eielson growing the way that it has, and the lack of housing, the lack of residential property, the lack of commercial property. The railroad runs right through the middle of a ton of it. I would venture to say more than 1,000 acres of buildable land, whether it's commercial or residential. And with phase 1 of the reroute of the railroad, it would open that property up. Whether it's this year, next year, the year after, this is certainly a cause worth fighting for. And I would, not to take the words out of your mouth, Mr. Jacobson, but I would certainly love to champion this project until it is completed. I think it's super important for our city. Our railroad splits it almost right in half. I worry about our students leaving the middle school and the high school at NPHS Boulevard, especially with the overpass going in down by Hawks at 12 Mile. That is going to bring heavy industrial tankers in to refill at Petrostar. It is a matter of time before an incident happens, and I pray to God every day that it doesn't. But it is a ticking time bomb, and I would love nothing more than to see that removed and taken care of. So it is to bring discussions to try and move this forward and to make that happen. Hence the resolution to put that through to our interior delegation, to our governor, to try and move this forward and have good talks about how we are going to plan for North Pole's future to make this happen. Sorry, I've sort of taken the mic and just run with it. Council comments, please.
I think you covered the bases.
Please, Mr. Jacobson.
I applaud you, Mayor, for this resolution. I think this is the right step to rekindle the interest on this. When you think of all the possibilities that could come from this chokehold on the rail system just with phase 1, it will be hopefully an impetus for Fort Wainwright when they do their drills and exercises down in Fort Greeley, that they can do rail transport of their vehicles rather than having to drive all of that stuff down the highway, and would spur the extension of the railroad, northern extension, I guess it's called, from North Pole to Delta Greeley, opening up opportunities for commerce, for mining, or rail cars versus the trucking, as they bring on more mining projects in that area, and hopefully then connect us to through North America, through Canada to North America for more efficient transportation of goods and services. So thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I would like to say it's just not one-sided. I try and think about everything in spherical worlds, and to have the railroad to be able to move faster than 20 miles an hour, moving further down the line, I think makes a lot of sense now. The railroad is handcuffed at moving 20 miles an hour once it hits around Club 11 all the way into our town. And I think it does them a disservice, especially if they're going all the way out to Eielson, where they could be turned up out on the dike and running that at 40 or 45 miles an hour, lessening time, making things more efficient for them, for Eielson, but also working out better for North Pole. So I think other than the funding portion of this project, it really does work out well for everybody. Madam Clerk, would you mind calling the roll on this before I talk about it anymore?
On Resolution 2025, a resolution of the City of North Pole Council in support of the Alaska Railroad Corporation's Phase 1 Rail Crossing Reduction Project. Mr. Claus?
Yes.
Mr. Keller? Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Clack?
Yes.
Let's see, Ms. Glab?
Yes.
And Mayor Church?
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote? Seeing none.
That passed with 7 affirmatives.
Thank you. That takes us to council members' comments. Where shall we start this evening, Madam Clerk?
Ms. Clack, since you're online, would you like to go ahead and start us out?
Well, I want to thank everybody for this evening. It seemed to be very informative, and I thank the people who came out tonight and shared their information. I think that was also very important for people who are getting ready to sell their houses and what they may have to contend with. So we are hoping to be able to hopefully put in a letter for an extension and see what happens. That's my comment for tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Clack. Let's move down the line here. Mr. Claus?
Thank you. This past weekend, we had a presentation by the borough for their comprehensive plan, and part of it had to do with transportation. And since I walk pretty much everywhere, I wanted to echo what the fire chief said about slip and fall accidents that people might have. I've usually used my cleats on my shoes and my cane to get around. So I walked over to the library for the meeting. And one of the things I'm trying to get the borough to do is restore bus service on Saturdays, since that's when this particular meeting happened to be, and also extend the route on St. Nicholas Drive so it covers the Three Bears, put a stop by Three Bears as well. So everybody please be safe out there on the snow and the ice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Claus. Ms. Glab?
I think that it definitely is important for us to try to get some sort of extension for the commentary time. For sure on the aspect of wood stoves, I'm lucky enough to have both wood and natural gas in my home, but not everyone is. And I believe that it's accurate for us to look out for people who do not necessarily use that particular way of heating their homes. That's one of the reasons that Alaska is what it is people have the option to do what they would like. And to try and help with that. So I hope that we can get some sort of extension in place. That's it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Glab. Mr. Williams?
I think the energy rating is a situation which we all need to look at, because I think I remember when we bought our house, and they're right, it's not cheap, not by a long shot. We got to look out for everybody, guys. It's the systems out there. It seems like everybody's out for themselves to make as much money as they can and not worry about the, how can I say this? Not little people, but you know, people that really can't afford it. You know, because they will go other ways to make things happen. And like Barbara was saying, we don't want houses being what's the word? Um, with wood and stuff on it, you know, because that can present a problem for us criminal, because people would turn around and break into houses just to get warm and different things like that. So we got to kind of make that work for everybody. And if you guys still need me to go to Anchorage and help you, I'm good to go for that. Otherwise than that, everything was pretty good. Reason why I wasn't here last time because my wife took me on a cruise, which
Very
I
good.
enjoyed myself. And she's taking me on another cruise in March. So I just want you guys to know that. But I'll put it in writing so it'll be no misunderstanding. Okay.
In case you fall overboard and are not found, is that it?
Oh, that's a good point. I gotta check that. So you're telling me to sleep lightly? Okay, I understand that. Yeah, but it was pretty good and interesting, and it was enjoyable. And I will tell you, I noticed that everybody seems to take care of everybody when you're on a cruise. Something what we're trying to do. You got to take care of everybody because you, as Cord tells me, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know. I never knew that these, how can I say this and be nice? I never knew this was coming down about the energy rating there. To me, it looks like somebody just snuck that in because we should have been notified. Okay. But I'll be nice and I won't say too much because I'm upfront before I do things like that. But that wasn't cool because we need more time to make things work for us. And I'll drop the mic to whoever.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Jacobson?
Thank you. I agree with you, Mr. Williams. I am shocked and appalled at the new air quality regulations and how this snuck up on us. There should have been a lot more, I think, publicity. I'm pretty avid about reading news and checking notices for things, so I don't know how I missed that. But Mayor, would it be a problem if when we request an extension of the comment period, that we say that we are on the city council, or should we leave that to you to officially respond as the mayor of the city, representing the city council, to extend that comment period? I know there's a question of when we make public comments, if we do it privately or as a public official.
So I will sit down tomorrow and start writing that email. What I'll do tonight is actually send the entire council out that legislation so that you have a chance to review that. I will write up a letter and then send out a draft to each and every one of you so that you can read through it, make sure that we're all on the same page with what we want to say as a council, as a governing body, as a group. And then I will mail that off and distribute that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to attending the comp plan presentation this weekend and along with the Yukon Quest down in Fairbanks, but I've been having some health challenges which have curtailed some of my abilities to attend things. So I'm glad, Santa Claus, that you were able to attend that and represent the council. At our last council meeting, I didn't really comment on it, but I should have, especially with board member Garza in the audience. But I attended the North Pole Welcome Center ribbon cutting ceremony along with the mayor and Santa Claus, and it really is a nice addition to our community. And so if you haven't had a chance to stop in, I would encourage you to do so. They couldn't have picked a better executive director, Karen Lane. She is very enthusiastic about North Pole and all things North Pole, and brings a lot of experience to that position. So that was a good way to start off 2025, was to have that ribbon cutting and show that we are making progress here in North Pole. And those are my comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. Mr. Keller?
Just a couple of comments pertaining to the EPA stuff that's coming through. Echoing this, it's about weatherization audit, which I think if everyone had $1,000 that they wanted to spend on getting an audit on their house, they would probably do that to save themselves some money, right? So this is a thing that's going to cost homeowners, whether it's going to be on the sale of their house or the purchasers, because let's face it, those kind of costs they can actually push onto the buyers or push onto the sellers, depending on really what the contract is. So another thing is the solid fuel. That's something that's been there for a while, but now they're actually coming down and saying, no, this will have to be done. It's not just the real estate agent's job, it's the seller's and the buyer's job to make sure that's done. This to me is saying something to the effect of, I know this better than you, or I know what is for the best of the community. When they're not in our community, that is wrong. They're not here. They're not here during the summers. I'd probably be up for this if they gave us credit during the summer for the wood fires that we don't have control over. Let's check that out for the forest fires, right?
It doesn't count, it doesn't tabulate into.
It doesn't tabulate. No, I know.
We're not penalized for the.
Which is good. But I would rather take the wood fire smoke smell during the wintertime that brings back good memories. However horrible of health it is for me, over the stuff that we get during the summertime. Right. So that's part of my thing is, you come here, you live the way that we need to live in order to be warm, economically efficient for us, for burning our own stuff. Wood that is not trash. Please don't. But it's come here, live how we do, and then be a part of the conversation. And for them to kind of flush this out, like it's been said multiple times tonight, in a rush, that means there's something else in there in those documents that they're either trying to hide or they're trying to push on us. I'm one to kind of push back, and that's a little bit too much governance for my liking. So that's my comment on that. The comment on the railroad. I'm excited about this idea of let's get things moving more efficiently. For us to have as many crossings in our city as we do is, I'm surprised we don't have as many accidents. I'm surprised we don't have more. But thank goodness for the citizens to pay attention to the blinking lights and the crossbars. So I'm hoping this kind of opens up the eyes of the railroad company. Other than that, more daylight. I was actually able to drive home tonight from work and actually had some daylight. It was, well, dusk. It wasn't daylight. The 2 hours of dusk that we have. So the light is coming back. It's already February. I can't believe it, in 2025. It's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year. So, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. And Mayor Turch.
I would like to start off by thanking everybody who was here this evening to fill our chambers. I am so glad that we finally have it back. And it's wonderful to see people show up, give their opinion, speak their piece, educate us on things that maybe we're not aware of. Like Mr. Jacobson said, as studious as he is, for someone to bring something to the table that surprises him, surprises me. So I'm glad that happened. I'm glad that you guys are here, you're involved, and that you're excited to come to North Pole City and have a seat and talk about things that are important to you. I think it's super important as a community that we do that. So thank you for that. While Councilman Claus was at the strategic planning, I went to the kickoff open house of the Plaque Road extension for Chena Lakes over here at Hotel North Pole that happened. There was a lot of action. It was a very interesting from both sides of the fence, whether you wanted it or didn't. One thing that did strike me as very interesting is they are paving that road, Plaque extension, all the way back to the new park. but their intent is to raise the road 2 feet. And a lot of the citizens in that area that were there at that meeting are direly concerned about basement flooding, flooding of their yards with no ditches planned. So I certainly would challenge the borough and state to rethink that plan a little bit, maybe degrade the road down a foot, build it up a foot, and put in some reasonable ditches as a way to mitigate that water runoff in the springtime. You want your neighbors to be your friends. You do not want to tick off your neighbors. I think it's super important that as a borough, I think what they're doing is exceptional. I love Chena Lakes Rec area. I love that portion of Chena Lakes. Some of the best fishing in the lake is on that end, right off the point. But we need to do it right. We need to do it in a way that makes sense for everybody. And if they could take heed, step back, do it right for everybody, listen to the comments that were given, I think it will go a long way to meeting in the middle. I know it's not ever going to be perfect either way, but if we can find a way to meet in the middle, shake hands and be good with it, not great with it, just good with it, we're miles ahead of where we really should be. I want to remind people to sign up for your PFD. If you hadn't done that already, that's more of a reminder to myself, but anyone else who's listening. I did get to watch the Yukon Quest. I went down, I took some time off on Friday, went down to the start of the race and helped set that up, and then went downriver on Saturday and cheered them on a vacant straight stretch and had a bonfire and took my wife down, and we hoot and hollered at every single dog musher that went by, and the 80-mile run where they went up and then back to Fairbanks at 4 a.m. The last musher came by where we were at, and it's just really cool. Dog mushing is sort of a dying sport, and I think it's really important that we get out there and we support that. With that, I hope everybody drives home safe. Thank you for being here. And I would like to move
to adjourn.
To second.
I heard unanimous consent from the room. We are adjourned at 8:21.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Actually, until 8 a.m.